right. Good morning, everybody. Good to see you guys. Ryan, how you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Pretty good. You're in a new location?
Yeah, I moved to an office.
Very good. I like your dad's office or your
Yeah,
workplace where you.
my dad's.
Okay, cool. Cool. Well, I'm glad to see you. Glad you're here with us here today. Good to see everybody here today. How's everybody doing? No problem, Jacqueline. Go ahead. Come right back. Get your cameras on so I can see everybody, so I can see the smiles out there. And then read my screen here. I got the agenda for the week up there. If you have any questions or comments in respect to that, let me know. Oh boy, that's not good, Riley. Does that include you as well? Riley, does that include you?
Sorry, it was taking a while to type.
It's
We
okay.
don't know yet, but my mom got a positive test and she was around all of us over the weekend, so probably.
Oh man, well, hang in there, be strong. Keep me updated too, will you? Everybody responds differently. I've talked to many people over the last 10 months who've got it. Some get through with just minor headaches and tiredness, and some really struggle. I have a couple friends right now that are dealing with it, and they all have different symptoms and different things going on. So keep me updated. If it worsens, let me know, and I will try to help you out in any way that I can on my side, because I know sometimes it affects people so much they can't even get out of bed. And if that's the case, you better alert all your teachers. And if it affects your productivity level and your ability to keep up with all your classes. And that goes for everybody here. If you guys get sick and you guys are having a really tough time, just communicate with me. Let me know what's going on. I'll try to be as understanding as I can be and try to help you out in any way that I can. So there we go. Great great punctuality today. You guys got quick coming in here. That's good to see. That means you guys are ready to rock. Have your sections out, your workbook out, pencil, red pen, get Desmos ready to rock, and we'll get started here in a minute. And definitely read my screen because I put up the week's agenda so you know what's going on, and take out your calendar so you can write down some plans for not only today, but plans for Thursday and also next week. Because as you guys know, we have a short week this week. We don't, we have a Tuesday, Thursday class, but there's no Friday and Monday because it's President's Weekend, and we have a 4-day weekend, as I'm sure you guys are well aware of. So that means your Tuesday, Friday classes are going to be different, and every teacher is responding differently to that. You're going to have to communicate with your Friday teachers, about how they're handling that. In respect to your Wednesday, Friday class. So make sure you talk to them. For us, we're together Tuesday and Thursday. So today we're obviously going to get into 3-6. It's a fairly, I think, straightforward, easy lesson. 3-7 is the key one. So Thursday, make sure you're with us on Thursday. That we culminate the chapter, and we also, I think 3-7 is a lot more challenging than today. We extend what we do today. We're going to be talking about credit card statements, and then we extend that to session 7, where we actually have to do some things that we haven't done yet so far. So 3-7 finishes the chapter, and then I send you home with a review that you'll have like 5 days to work on or so. And then I'm thinking about having the test at the end of next week. So write your schedule down as we're talking right now, as we're coming on in. If you have any questions or needs, you can address that right now. You can just turn on your mic and let me know, or you can type it in the chat, whatever you prefer, before we get started here. Oh, and speaking of the quiz, Christian, you brought up on last time I saw you, it was Monday, I think you brought it up during our homeroom little chat. You asked me about doing quiz corrections. Was that on Monday that you asked?
Yeah, it was.
Okay, and I forgot exactly what I said, but I thought about it, and you're not the only person that would like to do some quiz corrections. I have a few people in period 1 that requested that too. So I made the decision earlier today I told people in period 1, which is the other financial algebra class that I have, that if you guys come during intervention today at 1:10, where intervention starts always at 1:10 to 2:30, I could pull up your quiz and we could take turns and go around the class and pick the problems that you missed, and I can help you correct them. And if you resubmit your work, which not everybody's submitted yet, then I will bump up your grade and I'll give you partial credit back on that question. So if you want to do that, then show up today at 1:10 with the other people from period 1. That goes for everybody. Speaking of the quiz, everybody but 2 or 3 people took the quiz, so good job there. Not everybody submitted your work. So let's go to Canvas. I think it was because I added the page a little bit later, and I'm not sure if everybody was aware of it. So if you haven't done so, you need to do that. It's right here, right after the quiz. It says right here, submit your work. Just go in there today and, obviously scan your work from the quiz, submit it to validate your quiz. Okay, so do that. And then, like I said, we're going to get into 3.6 today. So before we launch 3.6, any questions or needs in respect to anything? Give it up to you guys right here. Okay, no questions. Okay, then let's get started. We need to talk about Desmos a little bit before we get started, because some of you guys have been indicating to me that you're not sure how to print off the work from Desmos and submit it. And some of you guys have printing issues, but believe it or not, there's a way to submit all your Desmos work without printing to paper. Without printing to paper. So the people that have printing problems, or they don't have ink, their printer's not working, whatever, you don't have to print. So everybody look at my screen and follow me. Okay, now today there's 2 options. So let me go to Desmos first. So everybody look at my screen. We're going to be either using the graphical Desmos and whatever, and then, or you can use the other one, which is the scientific one. I use this one all the time. In fact, this is the one I'm going to use today. Okay, now let me show you what I did when I made the key, when I went through 3.6. So everybody look at this right here. These are all the different calculations I made when I went through it. Now, everybody should have an account in Desmos. And if you don't have an account, then you need to make one. And there's a way to print all your work on either calculator really easily. Before you do that, though, you need to do something before that. So everybody look at my desktop here. Everybody needs to set up a folder called Financial Algebra. And I talked about this in semester 1, but I found after talking to many seniors, a lot of people have not done this. So if you have not done this, do this simultaneously with me. Okay, so just click in on your desktop, add new folder, type, call it Financial Algebra 2021, that'd be appropriate. Okay. Now, I wouldn't really put it on my desktop. A lot of people do. I prefer to put it in my Google Drive because I can access it from any computer, my phone, my tablet, my iPad. I can access my work and my files if you put it in your Google Drive. So, and not only that, if something happens to your computer and it's on your desktop, forget it, you just lost all your work. But if you put in your Google Drive, even if your computer crashes and you have to buy a new computer, you have not lost anything. It's in the cloud. So I would advise you guys to put this folder in the Google Drive. That's my advice, but I'm just going to use this as an example. So open up Financial Algebra and you should have what are called subfolders. Okay, what are subfolders? Well, you should have a folder for every chapter. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a couple subfolders in here. Okay, come on, let's do it. So I added a folder here. We're going to give it a name, an appropriate name like chapter 1. Okay, if you haven't done this, I'm just kind of modeling what you guys should do. Second folder, chapter 2. We're in obviously chapter 3, so I'm going to add chapter 3 in here. If you haven't done this, you guys, you should do this and keep all your work organized. Just because you're online doesn't mean you don't have to stay organized. That's another thing I've been talking to a lot of seniors about on the side, is that I found out a lot of people are not staying organized because they think online you don't have to, and that's not the case. I mean, I still, just so you know, look at this. Okay, I still have a notebook, guys, with all my lessons for all my classes. And I have it side by side on my desktop. So I can access my things at any time. And I also have everything digitalized too. I use Adobe Scan, I scan all my work, I keep it organized. So today we're gonna be using Desmos. So let's say that this is all your work. So everybody look at the screen right here, because you're gonna do this here in about 45 minutes when we're done. Okay, on the upper right-hand corner, there's a share icon. Give me a thumbs up if you see it on my screen. Give me feedback, come on, show me you're listening out there. Everybody. Okay, now if you click on that, there you can share a hyperlink, which some people are doing in Canvas, but I can't access it. Let me repeat that. I cannot access your hyperlinks when you put it in the comments in Canvas. So I've responded back to everybody. I said, do not send me hyperlinks. Some people are sending me hyperlinks in the email. Don't do that either. Don't use this, okay? You print, but you don't print the paper. So watch, let me show you. This is what some people don't know. And so that's why I'm taking time to do this today, because all my seniors, this is like an important thing, because you want to save ink, you want to save your printer, and some people don't have ink, they don't have a printer working, yada, yada. Okay, so you go into the printer dialog and there's options. I have 2 printers here. And then you want to use the options as save to PDF, because that's the only file format that you can upload to Canvas. Okay, so you select save to PDF, you select save, and watch what happens. Okay, now I already named my Desmos document down here on the file name. If the file name does not appear, you type in the section. We're working on 3.6 today, so you type in 3.6. On the left-hand side, you got to tell the computer where you saved your file. Now I put it on the desktop, so I click desktop. I go down to the folder that says financial algebra. I select it, and then I double click on chapter 3, because obviously I want to put it in chapter 3, and then I hit save. Now watch what happens. I go back to my desktop, which is at the very top. Look at the top of the screen. I open up financial algebra. I open up chapter 3, and there it is. And it's a PDF of all my work that I did earlier when I went through the entire lesson. Notice I didn't print a paper. I don't have to worry about a printer. And that's important for you guys, because you need to do it paperless. Because some of you guys are telling me, hey, I don't know how to do this. I can't upload to you. Well, I'm teaching everybody right now. So now no one has an excuse not to get their Desmos work up there. So having said that, let's pause for a moment, because you're going to be doing this today. You're going to be working in Desmos, either this program, the graphing Desmos, or the scientific Desmos, even this one. If you look at this one, this is the one I'm going to use today. The print dialog is in the upper right-hand corner. You do the same thing. And you don't see anything on here because I haven't done any work yet today. But you can print the entire, all the calculations. You don't screenshot it. There's no need to screenshot it anymore, guys, because you're gonna print a PDF and save as a PDF. So who's with me today? Who's understanding what I'm talking about here? Because it's important. You can only submit PDFs here to Canvas. Any questions? Because I want to make sure that you guys can pull this off, because you're going to do it at the end of the class. We're going to finish the lesson in class today. Okay, then let's rock and roll. Okay, so here, now, one more thing before we get started. The only difference in calculators between the scientific one and this one is that if you go to the graphing one, you could save your work for all time. I have all my lessons from all my classes saved in mine. All of them. I can go back and review anything I want. So the graphing program allows you to save all your work, whereas the scientific one, I don't know how to do that. This one just allows you to print it. So you have to make a decision today. Are you going to use the graphing one or the scientific? Pick one, okay? And by the way, both of these can be on your phone, the iPad, or any tablet device. They're free apps. You don't have to pay for anything. All right, so let's get this going here. Let's get the lesson going on one side here. Get a pencil and the red pen, and in red, put down what I put at the very top, okay? Show process and submit Desmos work. I'm giving 7 out of 10 instead of full credit for when you guys do not submit your Desmos work when I ask for it. And then if you submit it, then I'll up your score. So always pay attention to the comments on Canvas. If you're missing something, usually I give you a little message. If you respond and submit, then I look at it the second time, and then I up your grade from a 7 to a 10. And then, of course, if you have any questions, just give me a message. Okay, let's get started here. Today, we're going to start this discussion on credit card statements. And so before I get started, who has a credit card already? Who has a credit card from one of their banks? Wow, no one. Well, you will be getting one soon. It's a fact of life, okay? You'll be getting credit cards. You'll be taking out a loan fairly, in the next few years when you decide to buy a car or a motorcycle or something like that, depending on what you want to drive. All right, but credit cards are an important aspect of life because they allow you to buy things without having the money in the bank, okay? And that's kind of nice sometimes. Okay, well, yeah, Jacqueline, that's good. And the fact that you have you're going to strive to never get a loan, that means you're going to be paying cash and everything, is a good goal. So you keep doing that, because if you learn to do that and pay off everything as you go without taking any loan in your life, you'll be probably in the upper 5% of the people in the United States that are doing well financially. So that's good. All right, so let's learn a little bit about credit cards here. The operations are basic. We're going to be using Desmos side by side, and I want you guys to calculate simultaneously with me here. Okay, and if you do that, not only will you learn really well, but you're going to obviously finish everything with me. And then at the end, by the way, I could go back to the previous section. I just remembered, and Riley's here with me today. She asked me about number 12 on the previous section, and that kind of stumped me the other day. So I came up with a unique solution for that, a specific one, and I can outline number 12 from the previous section when we're done. I'd be happy to do that with you guys to give you guys a better solution for number 12 from the previous section. Okay, you guys ready to rock? Give me a thumbs up if you're ready to rock. Okay, having a good attitude is always important. Okay. All right, it's time to work together here, guys. So let's do it. Okay, number one, a summary portion, just a portion now of Manny's credit card statement is below. And it says determine the new balance amount. Okay, so let's highlight, that's this guy right here. What's the new balance? Now, credit cards are different than checking accounts. Okay, checking account, when you look at your balance online, like I bank at Schools First because I'm a teacher. I've been banking there for over 20 years. When I go online and look at my balance, that tells me how much money I have in the bank. Okay, credit cards, when you look at the balance, that tells you how much you owe to the bank. So there's a huge difference between a credit card statement and a checking account statement. This right here, the balance is what you owe. The balance is what you owe. Okay, so now to get the new balance, which we're just going to abbreviate MB, we got to do the following here. Okay, so to get the new balance, what you have to do is you got to take your previous balance from the previous billing cycle. So in the previous month, you must, if this was you or this is Manny, Manny must have spent $1,237.56 worth of stuff. Okay, so we got to start with that. So let's start off with the previous balance, $1,237.56. I'm even going to enter that into Desmos right now. So you guys follow me simultaneously and you'll see the numbers generate on your screen. So you guys work with me simultaneously now. That's the best way you're going to learn. Okay, and this will be easy when you do it. Now, when you make a payment to your credit card company, like Chase or Citibank, or for me, it's Schools First, when you make a payment, it's called a credit, okay? And what that's going to do is it's going to reduce your balance. It's going to decrease your balance because you're paying off what you owe. So this is what you pay off, okay? And if it's going to decrease your balance, you have to subtract that from your previous balance, so minus 1,200. So let's do that on Desmos, minus 1,200. So now what this is telling me is that I go online, I take money out of my checking account, which is 1,200. I send it to, let's say, Chase or Citibank or wherever my credit card's from. Well, for me, it's Schools First, but I transfer from my checking account to my credit card, and the balance goes from 1,237 down to $37.56 because I paid off part of the balance because I owe that. Okay, now what happens during the month is I have some transactions which are called debits. Okay, a debit could be a gas. You could go to the gas station. You could go buy something online. You could go, there's 10 million different things that you could spend your money on. But a transaction is, in this case, it's a debit where it's going to increase your balance. Okay, it's going to increase what you owe. So I have to add that in. I have to add $2,560.67. So I go spend that much more, and I don't know what I'm spending it on, but that's a big expenditure. So I'm going to go plus 2560. So $2,560.67. So right now I owe the bank $2,598.23. So what's cool about Desmos is that it gives you the running total as you do it, whereas a traditional calculator doesn't do that. Now there's no, it says in the balance statement, there's no late charge fee. There is a finance charge fee. So I got to pay that to the bank too. So that's going to increase my balance. So I have to add 956 to that. So I'm going to add 956. And then what that tells me is that I owe the bank $2,607.79 at the end of the billing cycle. That's what I owe. Even though I paid $1,200 off, I still owe $2,607.79. You guys speak up if you have questions. And it's important because you guys just admitted to me that you guys, most of you do not have credit cards. So this is probably all new to you. And even though the mathematics is simple, knowing why you add or subtract is important. So keep that in mind. And if you're not sure, just speak up as we go. Don't wait, because all these problems are fairly similar in their design. Okay. Now, number 2 is related to number 1, but it deals with what's called a credit line and available credit. When you take out your first credit card, they'll probably only give you a limit of a maximum available credit like 3,000. When I got my first credit card when I was your age, back in the early or late 80s, when I was your age, I think my maximum credit line was 3,000, not 9,000. That's kind of high. You can only get that if you have an established credit and you've really proven yourself that you can pay back your bills. Okay, and when you do that, when you establish your credit, they raise your credit line so you can spend more, even though you got to pay it all back. So in this problem number 2, Lizzie has a credit line, this is new vocabulary now, of $9,000, which means this is the max that she can spend. This is equal to the maximum that she can spend. So if she wanted to go buy a car for $20,000 and use her credit card, she couldn't do it. It would default or decline. They wouldn't be able to, she wouldn't be able to pull that off. Although if she wanted to go buy a, a smaller item or a used vehicle for $8,000, she could do that and she can just throw it on her credit card. Not very advisable because the credit card has a high interest rate. In a car loans, you typically between 2 and 7%, whereas a credit card is like 26, 28%. It is huge. So you never buy big ticket items on a credit card. That's a really bad idea. Okay. Now, it says her summary shown, and the question is right here, let's underline it. What is her available credit balance? Available credit balance. What is that? Okay. So because the available credit depends on your new balance, this is a 2-step problem. So we got to find out the new balance. We got to do that first, which we just did above. So that's why I said numbers 1 and 2 are related. Second step, after we calculate the new balance, this right here, because we don't know what it is. After you calculate your new balance, like we did in number 1, then you can calculate the available credit. Okay, we'll calculate that next. Okay, so let's learn from number 1. Let's do number 1, or the same thing. Let's find the new balance like we did in number 1, and we start with the previous balance. Look right here, we start with whatever the previous balance is from the previous month. Okay, so let's go to the next line in Desmos here. Here we go. Now, The new balance or the previous balance was $6,500.56. So let's enter that in Desmos. I just worked the problem out little by little, and you can see the answers evolve. And that's what's cool about this, right? You can just see it go. All right. Now, Lizzie, you must have had a big paycheck this month. Look at this. She put a credit or paid $5,200 off. And if she was able to do that, she must be pulling in at least $10,000 a month after all the bills. That is a big credit. So if that's going to, when you pay off part of your credit balance, that's going to decrease your balance. So you got to subtract that. So to figure out your new balance, you got to subtract the 5,200 because we're paying that down. You're paying off your balance on your credit card. So now she only owes $1,356. So when you send a payment in from the bank from your checking account and transfer it to your credit card, you're bringing your balance down. Give me a thumbs up if that makes sense, or a head nod or something. You guys follow me? You got to pay off your credit cards on a regular basis to bring down that balance. Otherwise, you're going to be in big financial trouble. All right. Now you go spend this. You go spend $978.45 on something. That could be a combination of things: gas expenses, food expenses, clothing, you name it, car expenses, automotive expenses. There's a lot of different expenses. But that right there, that's going to increase your amount. So you got to add $978.45. So let's add that into our calculation here. So plus 978.45. So now our current balance is $2279.01. In this case, in number 2, Lizzie's got a late charge fee, so we have to add that into our balance. So plus 20. And she's got a finance charge on this month in this cycle of $1288. So you have to add the $1288. So her new balance is $2,311.89. Who sees that numbers 1 and 2 are the same so far in structure? You guys see that process and structure, they're the same? Jack, are you with me? Okay. So now the new part, okay, what is the available credit? Available. Now remember, her max on her credit card is $9,000. So she owes $2,311.89. So she can't go spend another $9,000 because she'll be over the max limit. So to get the available credit, you have to take your max, which is $9,000, and then you got to subtract what you owe, which is your $2,311.89. Okay, go ahead and do that and tell me what it is in the chat. What's her available credit that she could use on the credit card if she wants to go out and make another expenditure? Go ahead and do that in Desmos. Go down, just return and type it in, 9,000 and then minus something. What are you guys coming up with? You can use your mics and talk to me too. Either way, it's okay with me. I like to hear your voices sometimes, you know? What are you guys coming up with? Okay, you guys agree with each other. So let me validate that. So I'm going to subtract 2311.89. Okay. And I agree with you. She has available to use $6,688.11. 6688. So if she wanted to the next day, she can go use her credit card and buy something pretty big. All right. She just can't spend $7,000. That's too much. Okay. That's called available credit. Okie dokie. Now let's let me pause here. Any questions up to this point? If not, type in all good. Let me know what's going on. Giving you guys a chance to reflect and ask questions and think about it. you know, even though the math is easy, we're just adding, subtracting. I want to make sure that you guys really understand what you're doing. Because if we achieve that, then we're doing pretty well. Okay, we're going to transition to number 4. Now, number 4 is a cool problem because it deals with a common error that people make sometimes. So okay, so there's an error on this statement, and we want to determine what the error is because this new balance is incorrect. So what we should probably do, I think the best way to see the error is to actually do it right. Based upon what we talked about in number 1 and 2, we know how to calculate a new balance now. So if we calculate it correctly, then we could easily see where the error is. So let's do it the correct way. So correct balance, correct new balance. So let's learn from numbers 1 and 2 and let's do it. Okay, and then let's write it out. Let's get a correct answer and then we'll compare. And I think when you compare, you guys are going to be able to pick it out. Okay, now you always start off with the previous balance. This is like from the previous month or the previous cycle, as they say. So you take 350.90. We owe that much already from the last month. So we can enter that in Desmos. Okay, now we make a $200 credit or payment. We transfer from the checking to your credit card and bring that balance down because you got to pay off that previous balance. Okay, so we're gonna, because the credit is a good thing, you're paying your loan down, it should decrease it. So you got to subtract the 200. So minus 200. And if you look at the Desmos here, you know, we still owe $150.90 because this is what you pay off. You pay down the loan here. You pay, it's basically a loan. You're borrowing money from the bank when you use your credit card, basically. Okay, but you spend $200. So that's going to increase your balance because you spent that. So your balance is going to go up. So then we're going to add 200 here. There's no late fee, but there is a finance charge. So you're going to have to add that in as well. So the question is what is that? Can you guys calculate that? You can probably do it in your head, believe it or not. Maybe, maybe not. When you add 200 and then add your finance charge of 868. Okay, well, there's a couple different numbers up there. You know, when you got to add the pennies together. So when you add the $8.68, there we go. So 359.58. So there's the correct new balance right there, 359.58. So everybody compare. This 759.58 is incorrect. So what happened? Where's the error? Where was the error made? How did they get 759.58 instead of 359.58?
They added the 200, like both of them, instead of subtracted one of them.
Very good. It's right here. So the error was made in here. They added 200 instead of subtracting. And if you take 350.90 and add 200, then add the 868, if you do that, this is the error. Then you would get the 759.58. And that's a very common thing. Remember, a credit brings down the balance. So you want to subtract it instead of adding it. So good point, Charlize. Good eye. Okay. So there's where the error was right there. They added the 200 instead of subtracted. Does everybody see that now, you guys? Are we good? Give me a smile if we're good. There you go. All right. I like the smiles out there. So, okay. And then Jonathan, you agreed with Charlize, what she said there. Okay. Let's go to, now 5 and 6 are the same. So let's just do number 5. We'll do number 5 and then you guys can do number 6, but 5 and 6 are similar. So let's just do number 5 and you guys can do number 6. Okay, so Marianne had a credit card here and the credit line in this case is 15,000. Holy shnikes right there. That's a big credit limit. Even I don't have a credit limit of 15,000 on one of my cards. I think the maximum I have, I think is like 10,000. To get 15,000, you'd have to have a very, very high credit rating with some other factors to actually pull that off. She made the following purchases. So all of these numbers are purchases here. And then what's her available credit? Okay, so the available credit, okay, AC is available credit, is your credit line minus the sum of all purchases. That's basically what it is in general. It's your credit line minus the sum of all the purchases. In this case, because there's no late fee finance charge or anything like that. So in this case, you have to find the sum of all the purchases, and there's 4 purchases in this problem, and you got to subtract that from 15,000. So it's going to be 15,000 minus something. So I'm going to need your help on this one. So the available credit is 15,000. That's simple. And then you have to, subtract the sum. So you got to take all of these purchases in here. There's 4 of them right there, and you got to find the sum. So on Desmos though, Desmos is your friend, you just type it in. Okay, so 15,000 minus, and then use parentheses, and you just type in your numbers. All right, so get to work. Okay, you guys do this one. Type it in. You got to type in all 4 purchases right there. The 1,300. I'm not going to finish this. You guys are. $1,374.90 plus. Make sure you use parentheses around your sum. Otherwise, you're not going to get the same answer as me. And then you have to add the 266.21 plus the third one, 39.46 plus, and then you guys finish. Okay. And then you enter in the last one there, and you guys tell me what the available credit is on this one. Still pretty substantial. Take your time and do that. This is important to know because every person has a maximum credit line. Even if you're a billionaire, you're going to have a maximum. Okay. It doesn't matter how rich you are, how much money you have in the bank. Everybody has a maximum amount, which is called the credit line, on their credit card when you have one. So knowing how much you have available is important. So you know whether to go out and you're going to be able to use your credit card on something, whether it be a small item like clothing, or a bigger item like a TV, for example, a bigger item, or even bigger, that'd be a car. I wouldn't suggest that ever though, because buying a car on credit is a really, really bad idea because the interest rates are so darn high. Guys, help me out. What's your result here when you enter in the 4th purchase? Ah, there we go. Okay, let me validate that. So I'm going to type in the last one, $903.01 looks like. Okay, there we go. So she has available $12,416 and looks like 42 cents. So this is Desmos right here. Okay. So number 5 and 6 are similar. So you do 6 on your own. Let's do 7 and 8. These are review. These are simple. These are 30-second questions. And you guys stop me as I go. If you have questions, don't hesitate. Just turn on your mic and ask away as we go. So please don't wait. Now we started talking about APR and monthly periodic rate a couple sections ago. So let's see how fast you guys can answer these questions here. The APR is currently 24.6%. So that's high, by the way. You don't want a loan at that interest rate. That would cost you a fortune. The question is, what's the monthly periodic rate? We'll abbreviate that MPR, monthly periodic rate. What do you do to the annual periodic rate to get the monthly? What do you do? What's the process? Oh, there we go. Maddie, you're predicting what I'm going to ask. Okay. And Getsy's and Joshua are following suit. They're actually calculating. You guys are great. Okay, so you can take your 24.6% and you divide that by 12 because we have 12 months. And I'll do it too. So 24.6 divided by 12. Okay. Wait a minute, what happened here? 12. I got to enter the right numbers there. And that's 2.05%. I like how you guys put percent signs on there. 2.05% monthly. This is a MPR, monthly rate. Monthly rate. Okay, MPR, monthly periodic rate. Now, let's reverse that. Reverse the procedure. If I give you a monthly periodic rate, if I say the MPR, the monthly periodic rate is 2.41%, which doesn't sound like a lot, it actually is. What do you do to calculate the APR? What do you do to that number? Reverse the process on number 7. How do you go from monthly to annual? There you go. What is that? Go ahead and start calculating. That's good. Help her out, you guys. Help her out. Teamwork here. 2.41 times 12. Teamwork. Okay. So 2.41 times 12. You guys, that is a huge interest rate. Huge. If you spend a lot of money, like you had a $9,000 balance and you're paying that percentage per year, you'd be paying huge finance charges. So 2.41 times 12 gives you the 28.92%. They fool you by saying, you know, give you a monthly rate and they think, oh, that's a great rate. And people don't understand that that's really bad. 2.41% per month is 28.92% per year. That is extremely high. You do not want to deal with the credit cards with that kind of interest rate. You'll be paying some extraordinary finance charges over time. Okay, number 9 is the same as number 1. So you guys can do this one on your own. You have to calculate a new balance. That should be easy for you guys. Again, I'm going to do a lot of this with you here, but you just have a couple simple calculations to make on your own, and then you can do that at the end of class when we're done, and then submit later on. Okay, let's go on the next page. Number 10 we got to do, because number 10 is a cool problem because it relates to what's called an Excel spreadsheet or a Google Sheet. So this is a cool problem because it uses a spreadsheet, and what we want to do on this one here is write a formula for the available credit. That's the key. That's our objective in this problem. So here's the available credit. So when you write a formula in Google Sheets, which we might do later on when it comes to project time. So this problem here relates to a future project, Excel project. I'm talking about Excel or Google Sheets is the same thing, which we did a little work on last semester at the end of the semester before finals. We did some Google Sheet work or Excel work. I taught you guys how to do some cool things with loans and a budget. Okay, this one deals with how to write a formula for the available credit. Okay, so let's do this together. So you always start a formula off with an equal sign. So the available credit is going to be equal to, remember that's how you start off with any formula in Google Sheets or Excel. And then you got to type in the cell numbers and write out what to do. So you got to think conceptually here. So to get the available credit, what you want to do is what we did in number 2. Look at your second step in number 2. Just look at the screen for a moment. This is the concept here. We took the credit line Okay, so we took the credit line, which is 9,000, and we subtracted the new balance, which was that 2311.89. So conceptually speaking, listen closely here. Anytime you want to calculate and write a formula for available credit, it's always credit line minus new balance. So that's exactly what I'm going to write down here. So conceptually, it's this. So write it above, and I'll write down the formula below this. So it's credit line minus whatever the new balance is. I'm going to put the new balance in a parentheses because it takes a few calculations to get the new balances, as you guys know. So that's conceptually what you do. Now, how do you write it using cell numbers? Okay, now, for example, available credit is in column J, row 32. So this is J32. So this cell right here, this is J32, J32. You always put the column letter first and then the row number. So you guys tell me, what cell is the credit line in? And I'm talking about this one right here. What cell is that? You have to go column and then row. What do you guys see? Give me a cell number. Look at the spreadsheet up here. You go column and then row. There you go. It's in column I and it's on the 32nd row. So very good. So this is I32. So I32 minus something. Okay. Now let's figure out how to calculate the new balance. Now the new balance is what we did in numbers 1 and 2. So let's refresh our memories. Let's go up to number 1. Okay, so look at the screen. To calculate the new balance, what did we start with? Give me words here. What did we start with?
The previous balance.
Correct. We start with the previous balance right here. So that's what we start with in our formula. So what is our previous balance cell number? This one here. Okay, there you go. D32. So here we go. D32. Now you make a payment. So we have to, this is going to bring our balance down. So we got to subtract our payment, because remember, when you pay off your balance, it brings it down. So which cell are we going to subtract? Minus what? There you go. So this is E32. This one was D32. So we got a minus E32. But then you purchase something in let me change colors again. Hopefully this helps you guys. Trying to get different colors here. So now you make a purchase. So if you make a purchase, that's going to increase your balance. So are we going to add or subtract here? Tell me what we add or subtract. There we go. Do you guys agree with me? Are we going to add F32? Okay. So add, this is F32, so plus F32. And there might be late charges and everything here too. So we have to put this in. It may be 0 or maybe something, who knows? So I'm running out of colors here. So let's see here. So tell me what we add next. What do we add next in our formula here for the late charge? Okay, there you go, G32. So this is G32, and we have to add that in because the balance increases, because late charge, you got to pay that back. So you add G32, and the last one, we have to add in H32 as well, because there might be a finance charge. So what's cool about this right here, when you design this in Excel or Google Sheets, which we'll probably do later on in a little project, hint, hint, this is how you program it. This is what you do. And then as you put the numbers in, it automatically calculates the available balance for you. okay, which is kind of nice. That's why we use spreadsheets, because once you type in the correct formulas, all you do is enter the numbers and it does all the calculating, which is nice. That's the main reason why people use Excel spreadsheets, okay, or Google Sheets as they call them online. Okay, before we transition to our last problem, number 11, does anybody have any questions on the strategy there, the formula setup? Okay. All right, now number 11 is just asking you to be able to read this credit card statement, because this is what they may look like here in the future when you guys get one later on. Okay, and I'm not going to answer these questions. You guys are going to help me out, because there's no calculation made here. Well, there's only one, and it's simple. It's just asking you to read the statement. So you guys get your eyes on this. So number 1 here, or letter A, how many purchases or debits were made during the billing cycle? Okay, so let me use a little color here so you can see it. So purchases, debits. So first of all, if you purchase propane to heat up your house, that's going to be, that's a debit. You go to the department store, it doesn't matter what department store, and go buy something, that's a debit. That's going to be adding to your balance. You go, your tuition at Brighton University at $1,300, that's a debit. That's going to increase your balance. You go to an auto parts store and go buy stuff for your car, that's a debit. A payment is a credit, so this is different. This is a credit. That's not a debit. Don't count that one. Okay, and then the gas station, if you go pay for gas, that's a debit. You go Stop and Shop and Go, whatever that is, that's going to be a debit. Who knows what that is, but I'll try to contact her later, Maddie. Thank you. Federal Express, you know, if you go send something to somebody, you know, Federal Express, FedEx, or UPS, that's a debit. And of course, you go buy a computer, that's a debit too. So how many total debits were made? You can show me on your fingers if you want. How many total debits were made? Yes. Yes. Okay. There are 8. Okay. 4 here, 4 here, total of 8. Okay. Like I said, this is just a reading exercise. It's just to make sure that you can read a credit statement, which is important later on in life when you get one. Okay. It says, what is the sum? Now, sum means you got to add all the debits. So you got to add these and you got to add these. So you guys get to work right there and give me a value there. Just enter all those numbers in. So what's the sum? Take a moment and do that. Just enter those numbers in. And remember, you're going to submit all this because you're going to print this off as a PDF and submit it with your work. So just work with me as you go and you'll be almost done with all your work. That's the benefit of coming to class. You learn something, you get to ask questions, and you finish mostly everything you do, which is kind of nice. Take your time. Let me know what you're coming up with. Okay. So Melina and Mia agree. Okay, there we go. I agree with that too. So $3,140.70. Very good. That's the total. That's this one here. Okay. Part C. What date? When is it due? Try to find that on your statement here. When is it due? Okay, so let's, so up here at the very top is when it's due. It's September 30th. So September 30th is when it's due. What's the minimum amount? Somewhere on here is a minimum amount. Can you guys find that too? How much do you have to pay minimum Credit cards will always ask you to pay a minimum. And if you can't pay the minimum, you better call them ASAP. Okay, I agree with that. So minimum due is right here, minimum payment. So minimum is $50 in this case. It depends on your balance, okay? The higher the balance, the higher the minimum. And I don't know if this goes without saying or not, but it was discussed in the video with Mr. Alex. You always pay more than the minimum. Otherwise, you'll never decrease your balance. So keep that in mind. Always pay, try to pay it off, actually. And he talked about that in the video too. Always pay your credit cards off every month. You will never pay a service charge or a finance charge. And then it says, how many days are in the billing cycle? What do you guys see? How many days? There you go. Okay, 30 days. I agree with that. And then previous balance. What do you guys see? There you go, Getsy. Okay, so the previous balance at $3,240.50. Okay, so this is just a reading exercise on Thursday when you guys come back. When we get into section 7, there's going to be a lot more computation or calculation involved. So Thursday is going to be a big day for you because not only do we finish the chapter, but we talk about how to calculate the average daily balance when you do not know how many days it occurs, like you did on the previous lesson. So Thursday is going to be an important session. We'll do a lot of work together here. Today, all you have to do is just finish the few problems on your own. And some of you guys are you probably worked that out while you're working with me. So go ahead and remember, look at the screen here. When you're in Desmos like this, you hit the printer icon in the upper right-hand corner. Remember to save as a PDF. You do not have to print this to paper. We're going paperless, guys. So no need to waste any paper or ink. You go save it as a PDF and you save that to your folder on either your Google Drive or your hard drive, either one, your choice. So do that. It's really easy to submit both in Canvas. And before I transition to going back to section 5 on number 12, do you have any questions on this section? So anything here that you guys have thoughts or questions on? Okay, so I'm going to give you guys the option right now. I'm going to go back and Riley brought up a good question on the previous section on 5. Number 12 is a pretty detailed problem. I'm going to go through it in detail. Although it's a problem like that is not going to be tested on. And because of that, you have the option to stay with me and listen to the solution on number 12, or the option to get going and do whatever you need to do. Hang on, don't leave yet. So you have that option. So I'm going to continue in a moment on that. Secondly, just let me remind you, Christian asked me on Monday if we can do test corrections during intervention. Today I said, yes, we can. And I will give you partial credit on the problems that you missed back to you as long as you correct it and resubmit it. That will happen at 1:10 p.m. Intervention starts at 1:10 and it goes to 2:30 every day on Tuesdays, Thursdays for you guys for financial algebra. Okay, so you have the option to come. And if you're satisfied with your grade, then you're good to go. You don't have to come. So it's optional. So it's optional to stay right now. It's optional to come during intervention. And if there's anything else that comes up, just message me on the side and let me know what you need and I'll help you out. I think Shirley's asked when's the test next week. I think it's going to be since we have a 4-day weekend, we're going to come back on a Tuesday. We'll review. And then I think it'll be the next session on Thursday. If Tuesday goes really well and we're all dialed in, then it'll be Thursday. If we're not, then I'll make a teacher decision and then I'll decide at that point, but I'm thinking Thursday. Okay. Any questions or needs before you go? Okay. Well, good participation today. You guys did great. So give me some smiles. I'll see you soon. If you want to stick around, you can stick around. If not, take care of biz and I'll see you guys soon. Okay. All right. See you, Jonathan. Okay.
Mr. Ainsworth,
Yes, I'm
was
glad you stuck
wondering-
around, Priscilla.
yeah. I was just wondering if instead I just like did the test corrections for the ones I missed on my first attempt, and then if that would like be good.
Well, you told me you haven't done them, so you can't correct what you haven't done.
Well, I thought maybe I could like do them and then, well, like, cause I did question 10 and 11 on the second attempt, cause I wasn't able to do them on the first attempt because it's submitted.
Uh-huh.
So,
So the only one you didn't do was number 12?
12 was like really fast to do, so I was able to get that one done.
Oh, so you missed 10 and 11? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Yes.
So you want to, okay, so you can do corrections on, as long as you attempted it, yes.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. I'll see you soon, okay?
Okay.
Oh, by the way, hang on for a second. You said you were in LA doing dance lessons last night?
Yeah, I had a class from 9 to 10:30 last night.
So are you going to dance school or anything professional or something like that? What's going on?
No, it's just a hobby of mine, and like I'm interested in like becoming better and just growing as a dancer. So
Well, you must be serious to travel all the way out there. That's good.
yeah, thank
Awesome.
you.
Keep it up. Let me know how it goes, okay?
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. See you later. All right, Miss Pitts. You want to see the solution or do you have a question?
Were you gonna go over 12?
Yeah. You
Yeah,
want to
like-
you want to see it?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's do it. Okay, so let me bring it up. You're my intellectual. I figured you would be one of the people. I had money laid out on the table that you would stick around.
I was curious because I don't usually get like super stumped like that. So
Yeah, neither do I. And I wasn't able to answer it correctly or quickly or anything at all that day. As you recall, I'm sure. And that bothered the heck out of me. So I went back at it and I detailed it out. Just trying to find it here. So 3.5. Oh, here it is. Okay. So let me expand this. You ready?
yeah.
Okay. So let's read it just to refresh our mind here. So her credit card has an APR of 13.2%. That's going to be used in this problem because that affects the MPR, the monthly rate. Okay. She does not ever pay her balance off in full, so she always pays a finance charge. Her next billing cycle starts today. The billing period is 31 days. That's an important number there. So it's 31 days. That affects the average daily balance because it's always the total sum divided by the number of days. So the
Okay.
31 will come into play. She is planning to purchase $7,400 worth of new kitchen cabinets in this billing cycle. Now, here's the key. When she will use her tax refund to pay off her entire bill. Okay, that's not the key. Here, this is the key. If she purchases the cabinets on the last day instead of the first day, how much will she save? Okay. Okay, so, but also she doesn't pay her balance off in full. So that means that she has a leftover, she has a previous balance, which we don't know. So I got to start there. So previous balance right here. Previous balance, let's just call it X dollars because I don't know what it is. It
Okay.
says right here that she never pays the balance off in full. So there's always something from the previous cycle coming in. So let's just call it X since we don't know what it is. Now to calculate the finance charge, if she buys it on the first day of the month versus the last day of the month, it means that we got to calculate 2 finance charges. It also means that we have to calculate 2 average daily balances.
Okay.
Okay, so what we need to do is let's start off at the beginning of the month. What happens if she buys it in the beginning? So at the beginning. So here's our first scenario at the beginning. So let's calculate the average daily balance for this scenario. Okay, now remember, average daily balance on anything is the total sum. I'm just talking conceptually now, divided by the number of days. That's how you calculate it all the time. So we know the number of days is 31. So the question is, what is the total sum? Okay, so let's think
for-
conceptually here. What does she start with at the beginning of the month from the previous month?
That I don't.
What's the previous balance?
Well, because I think what confused me was because like the number that you see in it was just the 7,400.
Right, but what does she carry over from the previous month? Because it says in the problem she never pays her balance off in full.
Is
Look
it
at my
just
screen.
the finance charge?
No, just what's the previous balance that's left over from the previous cycle? Look at my screen.
Why do I not see it?
Well, look at my screen. What did I call the previous balance since we don't know it?
I don't see it still. It's just X. Yeah, okay. So it's X over 31.
Well, it's X plus something. So to get the total, we got to take what we had from last month. Now, in this scenario, at the beginning of the month, she's going to make this charge, right? We have two scenarios. She can either buy it the first of the month, $7,400 charge, or she can buy it at the end of the month.
The last, okay.
So scenario one, let's calculate the average daily balance if she purchases it on the day one.
Okay.
So if she purchases on day one, the total sum is found by taking the previous balance X, which we don't know what it is, and we add the $7,400 charge, right?
Right.
Now that's on day one. So, and throughout the month, she doesn't buy anything else. So on day two, it's the same balance, X plus 7,400. On day three, it's X plus 7,400. Day four, X plus 7,400. And it does that for 31 days. So how do you calculate the total?
So because it's for the 31 days, do you multiply the 31 days by how like what the sum was for each day?
Right. It's on the first day, it's X plus 7,400. On the next day, it's X plus 7,400.
Yeah.
And there's 31 of them.
So you
how do you write the
multiply
total? By
31.
Right. So there you go.
Okay.
So times it by 31. And to get an average, because this is an average daily balance, you got to divide it by 31.
Oh.
Right? Because we're dealing with an average. So you take the total sum, which is X plus 7,400, and it's every day it's consistent.
Right.
Because it doesn't change. She only makes that one purchase for that month. And so the amount stays the same every single day. So you multiply by 31 to get the total. And then, but you got to get an average. So you got to divide it by 31.
Yeah, I think I totally messed myself up because I was looking at the APR and I was like, okay, I have to do something with the APR in this first part. So I was like, you have to use that percentage.
Well,
And
we will.
I don't
we
know.
will.
I messed that up.
Well, that's going to be step two. We're going to do
Okay.
that here in a minute. So in step two, we'll use that number, but let's simplify this. So what do you notice in this expression right here? How do you simplify that? You don't need a calculator.
Do you?
Think simple.
My first thought was like, you cancel them out.
What
Like the 31.
So what do you get?
Do you combine the X with the 7,400 when you're adding, or you can't do that when you're adding, right?
They're unlike. So really you just get this.
Just X plus 7,400. Okay.
Yeah, if you write it as 7,400X, that means you're multiplying, but we're not
Right.
multiplying, we're adding.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Because remember, this X is just a dollar amount, but we don't know
Okay.
what X is. So there you go. So now you use your APR. Now let's calculate the finance charge for this. So now we have the average daily balance. We know what it is. So the finance charge is always the average daily balance times your monthly periodic rate. We'll call this FC1, finance charge number 1.
Okay.
Because in this scenario, we purchased the cabinets at day 1. This is the day 1 scenario, okay? And then the next scenario would be at the last day of the month. That's a different scenario.
Okay.
And we're going to see what happens. So, so let's do it. So here we go. The average daily balance is X plus 7,400. And how do you calculate the monthly periodic rate given an APR of 13.2%?
13.2 divided by 12.
Yeah, and let's calculate that as a decimal too. So let's write down 0.132 divided by 12.
Okay.
Now, let's does that simplify nicely? Let's see. Let's enter in 0.132 divided by 12. Oh, it does. So 0.011. So this is the same thing as X plus 7,400 times 0.011. Okay, so there's your finance charge. Let's distribute through.
No, I'm on with my teacher. Okay. Sorry.
Is that Dad?
That was my dad, yeah.
Tell him I said hi.
My teacher says hi. Hello. Okay.
Okay. So distribute through, and what's 7,400 times 0.001?
0.011. 81.4.
Okay.
Okay, so that's so funny because when I first kind of worked it out, I did. Okay, wait, yeah. So I think I'm trying to figure out like what I did. I did 7,400 and then multiplied it by, so our step right now, I did 0.132 divided by 12, and then I got the 81.4. And then I just put 80 because it said round to the nearest 10, and I thought that that was the answer. That's what I
know, and that's what I did initially in class too, and we're technically not correct.
Okay.
So that's why I'm doing this with you. So there's your finance charge for the first scenario. Now let's go to the second scenario at the end of the month. So what happens if she waits till the very last day, the 31st day, and then purchases the kitchen cabinets? You're going to be shocked at what happens. Okay.
Okay.
Going to be different. So the average daily balance, again, conceptually, it's the total sum divided by the number of days. So it's going to be something divided by 31. Okay. So be careful. It's different than what we did initially above.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
So again, remember, she carries X dollars from the previous month. So on day 1, there's X dollars in there.
Okay.
Okay. But she waits till day 31 to purchase the cabinets. So the only thing that's in the bank is X dollars for day 1. Day 2 is X dollars. Day 3 is X dollars. Day 4 is X dollars. All the way to day 31 is X dollars.
Okay.
So how many X's are in the bank?
31.
Yeah. So there's 31 X dollars there as part of the, well, I'll tell you what, let's do it let's do it this way. And then, okay, so there's X, and then day 2 is X, and day 3 is X, and day 4, all the way to day 31. Now, day 31, she goes out and buys the cabinets, which cost how much?
7,400.
So the total now, we have to add in 7,400 there.
Okay.
Well, there's your total. Now, you look at the techniques. At the very top of the screen, do you see how the average daily balance is different already?
Yeah.
Do you see the structure is different?
Yeah.
Okay, now let's simplify this bad boy. So when we do this, we divide the first term by 31 and the second term by 31. So 31x divided by 31 is just x.
Right.
And then what's 7,400 divided by 31? Go ahead and do that on your Desmos or calculator.
It's 238.71.
Right. So so let's round that to 238.71. So 238.71. Okay. Wait, what happened here? What I do? I did something. No, that's right. Okay. Oh, I'm not done with the problem. I got to calculate the finance charge. Okay. So now let's calculate the second finance charge. So here we go. Remember, it's always average daily balance times the MPR. So we take this right here. So X plus 238.71, and we got to multiply by the MPR, the monthly periodic rate, which you already know is 0.132 divided by 12, or you can write down 0.11 if you want. In fact, let me do that. So, because you already know what it is, because we already talked about it. Now distribute that through. What do we get? If we distribute through, .011x plus how much? What's, do that on
Plus
Desmos.
2.6, I guess 3, because 625 would be 0.63, right?
Okay. Yeah, so 2.63. So $2.63.
Okay.
Now look at these. Compare these. Compare those.
Big difference.
So to calculate the how much you save, you got to calculate the difference, right? You have to subtract these guys to figure out how much you save.
Okay.
So subtract these. So the savings is equal to FC1 minus FC2. What would that be?
78.77 for the other number. So you would have to subtract the 0.011.
Yeah, those would cancel out. This guy and this guy, those would cancel.
Right.
So 8140 minus the 263 would give you
78.77.
Yeah, there you go. So $78.77 saved. And then if you round that to the nearest $10, you get 80. But do you see how that number is different than what you calculated on your own?
Yeah.
This is accurate. This is, I don't know why they say round to the nearest 10. I guess it's just because, they want to know approximately how much you save, but that's exactly how much you would save.
Wow. All right.
So what did that teach you about purchasing big items?
You should wait. So which one was the first one? I guess I'm not like.
Look at the in red. The first scenario, if you purchase at the beginning. Second scenario is that you purchase at the end of the month.
Right. So, okay, I guess I'm just wondering like what it like means, like,
Okay.
So for the first one, you have the bigger number, right?
Yeah, you got to focus in on, let me highlight the number that you should be focusing on, this number here.
Right.
That's what you should focus in on.
So does that ultimately mean that you're just like paying more if
Keep going.
if you wait, or
No, if you switch that.
so if you pay it off fast because you have to pay more?
No, if you purchase in the beginning of the month, you're going to be paying $81.40 interest.
In interest. Okay.
If you pay if you charge buy your cabinets on the last day of the month, you'll only pay $2.63 worth of interest.
Right, because of the interest. Okay.
So when should you buy big items? At the beginning of the month or at the end of the month?
The end.
Right.
Okay. I was definitely like, I get like the general concept, but I was definitely confused on like the wording and how like the interest is built and all that.
Yeah, and that's the whole intent of this problem. And by the way, since the X variables cancel out, what does that tell you? They canceled out. So what does that imply? Think about what X stands for at the top of the screen.
The previous balance.
So if it cancels out, what does that imply? Take a shot.
My first thought would just be like, it's not building off of that.
Keep going. What else? What did it affect the, since it cancels out, does it affect the interest?
No.
So what does that imply?
I don't know that it doesn't affect. So it doesn't add on to the final finance charge. So it's like, I don't know. What does it imply?
It means that it doesn't matter what the previous balance is. You should wait to buy things, big item things, at the end of the month versus the beginning of the month, because you're going to carry that balance every single day. If you buy it on day one, it's going to be on your statement every single day.
Right. So it tells you, okay, so it tells you that the previous balance doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter whether the previous balance is $10 or
Okay.
$10,000.
Right.
In this situation here, the moral of the story in this problem is that you should never buy big items at the beginning of the month.
Okay.
You should buy them at the end of the month.
Okay.
And then, because if you don't pay the entire thing off at the end of the month, then you will be assessed a finance charge. If you pay it off at the end of the month, you won't be assessed a finance charge. See, well, that's the thing. The cool thing about credit cards is that you're basically borrowing free money from the bank, because you don't have it in your checking account. Usually people don't. And but if you pay it off at the end of the month, you won't be assessed all the finance charges and late fees. You will always be okay. But most people, 98% of the population in the world, don't pay off what they spend. So they always go in the hole. And because of that, there's always a finance charge. And if they carry that over, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's why people get in trouble when they go into debt and they file bankruptcy.
Right.
Which affects you for 10 years, by the way.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yes, I won with my teacher. Thank you.
Yeah. So anyways, this is after I solved it like this and I went through it all, I think in future classes, I'm going to make that I think that's a good lesson.
It is, yeah.
And because the moral of the story is like, when should you use your credit cards? When is the best time for you in terms of saving money or avoiding finance charges? And it's an important lesson to learn, because a lot of people do not know how things work financially. And that's what's so cool about this course, is that you learn things that are going to really pertain to everybody's life. I mean, everybody uses credit cards, everybody gets loans. I mean, that's what's cool about this class. You're learning about the stuff that you're going to be involved with in the near future, because you're either 18 or going to be 18, and in 4 years you're probably going to buy a car, or your parents are going to help you buy a car, and they're going to co-sign for you. Like I'm co-signing for my son. Well, I already did it for him a couple years ago. I'm going to do it again pretty soon. And then he's building and establishing his credit so that he can do it on his own soon.
Right.
Usually you have to get help from your parents in the beginning, because you have no credit. You got to start somewhere, right? So you start with your parents, and then after you start with your parents, you branch off from your parents and you start developing things on your own. But one of the important things to develop your credit is paying things on time. You don't have to pay it off in full. You should pay off most of it, leave a little bit in there.
Right.
But pay it on time. Never be late on your car payment, any kind of credit card, or any loan, whether it's car loan or a home loan. Those things, if you're late just 1 month on one case, your credit score just takes a dive.
Right.
And that prohibits you from getting future loans.
Yeah.
I mean, your ability to get a loan, like me, I'm going through a refinance right now. So I'm trying to drop my interest rate from 3% to 2.8, because right now the interest rates are dropping, which is really, really good for us homeowners. But in order for me to do that, I got to satisfy a lot of things. And one of them is have a high credit score rating. To make that happen, we got to pay our bills, and we have a lot of bills. You know, when you're a family man, you have a lot of bills. And you gotta pay every single one on time. Ask your dad about it.
Yeah, he sat us down at the dinner table the other night. He brought out one of the bills, something. I think it was like the credit card bill. He was like kind of walking me through it, trying to like help me understand it. It's like it's a lot of information, but like once you kind of keep repeating it, it starts making sense, like how this impacts this and like the minimum payment, but you know, like all this. And it was like cool to finally start to understand it, you know?
Yeah. And then when you get your first one and you start looking at your statements, whether they're online or in paper, because you have the option, you get to understand it more and more as you do more and more. So
Yeah.
keep it up and keep talking with your dad and your mom.
Yeah, and to this class, it's funny how you start to see like the things that we're learning in here, how they are in other things. Like I'm taking econ this semester, and we're doing a project on like paying bills and stuff. And so we have to write like a 3-page paper that's due today on like if we were financially independent.
Okay.
And so you're like going through like what your bills would be if you can afford it and stuff like that. So I'm able to use like some of the stuff in this class in econ. So it's like, it's cool to see how all of it connects.
Well, that makes it exciting.
It is.
You know, versus like the famous question in math class, Mr. Aynesworth, when are we going to use this? You
Yeah.
know, like in Algebra 2, you know, all the equations. And, you know, that stuff right there, all the technical things in mathematics can't really be seen until you get to become an engineer or an astronomer or a computer scientist, you know, where you get to all the applied sciences. That's where you see all the math in action. So all the algebra 1, geometry, algebra 2, all that comes out later on. But this stuff, financial algebra, it's all basic math, with the exception of the logs. Okay, that's not basic. But here you see this on real life. That's the financial classes. This is my first year teaching it, and it's turning out to be one of my favorite classes I've ever taught.
Yeah, I definitely really like it because I definitely was one of those people that was like, when am I ever going to use this? And I wasn't like motivated to do it at all, like especially in geometry. I was like, when am I going to need any of this in, you know, geometry? And then I took Algebra 2 with Mr. Villar, and that was the first math class that I'd ever had where I was like, I get this, and like I can, you know, see this, you know, working, and like I'm understanding it, because especially in like middle school, I was horrible at math. I was horrible at it.
That's surprising.
Never got anything. And to come into Villar's class and like have that click of like, I can do math. Like I'm actually good at math. And then your class too, I'm like, wait, I can do this. Like this makes sense to me. So it's awesome.
Wow, that is really surprising to hear because you stand out.
Thank you.
It's very competent. You're always one of the first people to get in the chat. You, Mia, and a few others. You guys are always on my. If you look back at the chat record here, you, Melina, Mia, and Gretchen, you guys are like are all over the chat, and you know, notice that it's dominated mostly by girls. Look at that. You know,
it is funny, isn't it?
Yeah. You look at the chat right now. Look at this. I mean, Jonathan's up there, and he likes to interact.
Right.
But this class is dominated by. It's a good thing. Don't tell anybody I said that. But you know,
it's funny how that works.
Well, you know, there's a myth out there that says girls are not good at math, and I totally disagree with that. I've been teaching for 29 years. I can tell you that over the 29-year span, I have a higher percentage of girls in the success category that do really good quality work,
right?
Than higher percentage of girls that compared to with boys.
That's
not
awesome.
saying that I don't have star boys that come out. I do. Some boys they step up and they're mature, more mature than other boys, and so they really step up to the plate and really perform. But in terms of sheer numbers, I have more girls on my performer list. I'm talking in all the classes, whether it's this class or geometry or pre-calculus or even the calculus class that I've taught in the past. They really stand out. So don't ever let anybody tell you that girls are not good at mathematics.
Yeah.
In fact, when I went to school, I'll tell you something else too. I went to Cal Poly Pomona, and then I took 4 grad classes at San Marcos. And in my grad classes, which are 5th year level math classes, which were, that's where it really gets abstract. I'm talking like, it's in another planet. The girls were phenomenal. We had more phenomenal genius level chicks than guys. I mean, they were outstanding. Not to say that I didn't have any really outstanding guys, but I'm just saying that the girls were really phenomenal.
That's
And
awesome.
interesting to see. Yeah. So just a little perspective from me, you know, of what I've seen over the years. So you just keep it up, keep working with your dad, your parents, and get excited about learning, about math, about whatever, and then just have fun with it.
Thank you. Thank you so much for showing this one to me. It was definitely interesting. I liked it.
Yeah, I'll never forget this day. All right, so there you go. You're going to be going down in infamy right there.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Maddie. So, yeah. Anything else while we're here? Or is that it? I think
Yeah,
that's it.
I think I'm good. I definitely thought that one was like, you know what? I should go with that one. That one kind of stumped me.
Yeah, well, that wasn't an easy problem. So
Yeah.
it was fun working with you, Maddie. We'll see you soon. You have a good day.
Thank
And
you.
You're welcome. I'll see you Thursday.
All right. Bye.
All right. See ya. Yeah.